Keep your head down, work hard, and the money will follow. It is the most sacred, heavily reinforced lie in the history of the modern economy. You have heard it since you were old enough to hold a no. İki. But let's look at the cold biological reality of what happens when you actually follow that advice. There is a clinical term for it: allostatic overload. It is the profound, systemic wear and tear on your central nervous system when you subject a biological organism to chronic, inescapable stress. We are not forged into diamonds under corporate pressure. We are just ground down into dust. Think about the visceral physical sensation of your average Tuesday night. You stare at the blinking cursor, feeling your chest tighten like a crumpled piece of scrap paper. Your jaw is locked. Your eyes burn from the sterile glare of spreadsheets that mean absolutely nothing to the actual trajectory of your life. You are experiencing the neurological reality of a rigged game, yet you blame yourself for not playing it better. From the moment you enter the workforce, you are taught to be a pristine piece of origami. You are instructed to fold yourself smaller, tighter, bending your personality and your boundaries until you fit perfectly into the beige, manila envelope of a job description. You fold under the weight of artificial deadlines. You crease your own morals to appease a manager who sees you as nothing more than a highly depreciating asset on a quarterly ledger. You have been conditioned to believe that your sheer exhaustion is a receipt of your value. That if your personal life isn't entirely shredded by the time you clock out, you somehow left money on the table, but the money isn't on your desk. Your desk is just where they file you away until they need you to push again. Look around your office, or stare into the blinding white glow of your remote work monitor. You are pushing a massive, immovable concrete block. You are sweating, bleeding, giving up your evenings and your youth, putting the full mechanical force of your spine against a task that does not care if it breaks you. You think this brute force friction is the only way to move forward. Meanwhile, the people who actually own your time are not pushing blocks. They are standing at the edge of a cliff, miles above you, simply redirecting a beam of light. They are looking for the chasm, the gap, the arbitrage. They understand something fundamental that your exhaustion prevents you from seeing. Effort does not equal leverage. When you are fed through the corporate shredder day after day, your mental resilience becomes paper thin. You cannot read the writing on the wall when your face is pressed so aggressively against the clipboard. Your brain is trapped in a perpetual state of triage, confusing the exhaustion of survival with the feeling of progress. You believe that if you just push the block a little harder, if you just answer that email at 11 at night, if you just sacrifice one more piece of yourself to the machinery, the system will eventually reward your loyalty. But a heavy-duty shredder has no loyalty to the document it destroys. It just hums, indifferent, waiting for the next sheet. Before we dissect exactly how the machine tricked you into pushing that heavy block in the first place, tell me in the comments down below. What was the exact moment, the specific paper cut, where you realized your 60-hour work week was just buying your CEO a third vacation home? Let's file those confessions together. To understand why we volunteer for this bruising, daily grind, you have to trace the paper trail. We didn't just wake up one morning and decide our moral worth was measured by our level of exhaustion. We were meticulously stamped with this barcode. The lie that suffering equals success was engineered long before you ever drafted your first resume. It is a fabricated ledger, inherited from the heavy soot of the Industrial Revolution, and seamlessly wrapped in the pious guilt of the Protestant work ethic. The early factory owners did not just need warm bodies to pull heavy iron levers. They needed minds that fundamentally believed pulling those levers was a divine virtue. They needed you to view your own physical fatigue as a badge of honor, rather than a symptom of your own exploitation. Late-stage capitalism took that archaic industrial framework and psychologically weaponized it. It created a highly profitable cognitive construct designed specifically to keep you pushing that massive concrete block in the dark. Because here is the terrifying reality the corporate machine is desperately trying to hide. If the average worker suddenly realized that true leverage comes from finding the gaps, if they saw that real wealth is built through the quiet arbitrage of time, geography, and specialized knowledge, the entire factory floor would empty out overnight. If everyone stopped pushing the block and started looking for the chasm, the machine would starve to death. Who would collate the endless, meaningless data? Who would bleed over the quarterly projections? The system absolutely requires your blind, brute force labor to maintain its profit margins. It needs your absolute tunnel vision. So, they built an architecture of suppression to keep your head perfectly angled toward the floor. Look at the hierarchy of your own workplace. Look at middle management. They are not visionary leaders guiding you toward prosperity. They are leaden, bureaucratic paperweights. Their entire structural purpose is to sit heavily on top of your crumpled ambitions, pinning you firmly to the desk so you do not catch a sudden draft of reality, float up, and see the full, horrifying blueprint of the office. They are the heavy steel staples binding you to a social contract you never actually agreed to. They exist to create artificial emergencies, burying you under avalanches of pointless memos, endless performance reviews, and microscopic metrics, ensuring your mental ink is perpetually drained. When your brain is suffocating under that kind of engineered urgency, you are biologically incapable of seeing the larger picture. Your nervous system is hijacked by manufactured deadlines, locking you in a state of perpetual, low-grade panic. You become a carbon copy, endlessly duplicated in an ecosystem that profits directly off your inability to look up from the page. The system is perfectly designed to consume your raw, creative energy and spit out predictable, taxable compliance. You are handed a massive stack of blank paper and told that if you just fill it with enough of your own sweat, it will eventually turn into currency. But the ink you are bleeding onto those pages is your own finite lifespan. And the people standing safely at the edge of the cliff, capturing the light, they never even touch the paper. They just own the mill. And realizing that you are just raw material for someone else's mill is the exact moment the psychological tear happens. It is that quiet, agonizing fracture in your identity when you realize you did everything exactly right. You got the expensive degree, heavily embossed on thick cardstock. You stayed late. You said yes to every unreasonable project, letting them write all over your personal boundaries in permanent marker. Yet, you are still suffocating in debt, staring at a bank account that barely covers the cost of your own daily maintenance. The brain despises this contradiction. It cannot handle the sheer cognitive dissonance of suffering for no reward. So, it deploys a deeply manipulative defense mechanism known in behavioral psychology as effort justification. To prevent a complete mental collapse, your subconscious forces you to irrationally value the very corporate machine that is currently crushing you. You convince yourself that the daily shredding of your sanity is actually a sign of your moral fortitude. You romanticize the exhaustion. You wear your burnout like a laminated badge of honor. Because if you dare to admit that the suffering is completely pointless, the entire paper-thin architecture of your adult life collapses. While your brain is wasting all of its cognitive ink rationalizing your misery, it becomes completely blind to the actual mechanics of wealth. True leverage is not generated by pushing the concrete block harder. It is generated through arbitrage. It is the simple, calculated act of identifying the gaps. It is taking the apples that are rotting in a massive, abundant orchard and simply carrying them across the bridge to a place of desperate scarcity. It is finding the geographic, temporal, and intellectual voids in the market and quietly standing in the middle of them. It requires almost no physical friction. It simply requires the psychological clarity to see the light hitting the edge of the cliff. But how can you possibly see those gaps when your peripheral vision is intentionally blocked? When you are fed through the corporate shredder day after day, year after year, your mental resilience is shaved down to a translucent, fragile tissue. You are locked in a physiological state of survival. Your nervous system is constantly flooded with cortisol, forcing you to react only to the next red-flagged email, the next urgent calendar invite, the next synthetic emergency. You cannot read the writing on the wall when your manager has your face pressed aggressively against the clipboard. The system keeps you financially anxious and biologically exhausted by absolute design, because an exhausted brain cannot hunt for leverage. A chronically fatigued mind cannot calculate arbitrage. It can only execute repetitive, menial tasks in exchange for a bi-weekly deposit that evaporates the moment it clears. You are trapped in a filing cabinet of your own normalized panic, slowly realizing that the harder you work, the further behind you fall. And when you finally reach your absolute breaking point, when the tear in your psyche becomes too massive, too painful to ignore, the system does not offer you an actual exit strategy. Instead of an exit strategy, it offers you a beautifully laminated brochure on mindfulness. It hands you a roll of cheap, flimsy Scotch tape and instructs you to patch up the massive structural tear in your own psychological foundation. Welcome to the insidious, highly profitable illusion of corporate wellness and modern productivity culture. When you finally collapse and admit that you are suffocating under the crushing weight of the concrete block, the system does not give you permission to step away from it. Instead, it aggressively markets you a slightly more ergonomic pair of gloves to push it with. They send you a mandatory calendar invite for a Wednesday afternoon resilience seminar. They offer you a subscription to a meditation app, as if taking 10 deep breaths in a fluorescent-lit bathroom stall is going to somehow alter the brutal mathematics of your stagnant wage. This is the ultimate corporate gaslighting. They take a systemic, macroscopic crisis of exploitation and neatly fold it into a microscopic, individual failure. The Human Resources Department does not exist to protect the human. It exists to protect the resources. Their wellness initiatives are nothing more than a glossy, colorful sticker slapped onto the side of a collapsing filing cabinet. And the self-help industry is even worse. The hustle culture gurus and the productivity podcasters prey on your exhaustion, convincing you that the reason you feel so entirely hollow is simply because your personal filing system isn't optimized. They sell you complex organizational templates, Pomodoro timers, and elaborate habit trackers. They are actively exploiting your brain's desperate biological craving for a cheap dopamine hit. When you cross an item off a beautifully formatted to-do list, your brain releases a microscopic chemical reward, creating a synthetic sense of forward momentum. But it is a phantom control. You are just meticulously rearranging the paper clips on the desk of a burning office. They tell you to wake up at 5 in the morning to journal, to itemize your gratitude on premium heavyweight paper, to rise and grind until your vision blurs. But let's be brutally honest. You are not failing because you lack a color-coded schedule. You are not drowning because you forgot to practice mindfulness. You are failing because you are trapped in an industrial machine that demands infinite output from a highly fragile, finite biological organism. These productivity hacks do not teach you how to see the chasm. They do not show you how to find the arbitrage, capture the light, or leverage the gaps. They only teach you how to become a more obedient, self-policing employee. You spend your precious weekends agonizing over time blocking and goal setting, desperately trying to fold your exhausted life into the perfect, productive, geometric shape. But no matter how beautifully you origami your weekly planner, you are still just drawing highly organized margins on a document that is currently on fire. The grand, dark deception of modern self-help is that it convinces you to take pride in optimizing your own exploitation. You are not fixing the machine by downloading another task manager. You are not saving yourself from the industrial press. You are merely applying a premium-grade lubricant to the blades of the shredder, ensuring that when it finally pulls you under, it does so with maximum frictionless efficiency. To survive this frictionless slide into the machinery, you must do something that your heavily conditioned brain will absolutely scream at you not to do. You have to pick up the scissors. You must violently sever the deeply ingrained psychological string that ties your fundamental human worth to your industrial output. The most radical cognitive shift you will ever experience is the cold, sobering realization that you cannot win a rigged game simply by playing it harder. Knowing how to hustle, how to grind, and how to flawlessly execute a color-coded spreadsheet is entirely useless if you are still just applying all of that friction to a concrete block that someone else owns. It is time to embrace a philosophy that will absolutely terrify the corporate hierarchy, but ultimately save your central nervous system. Radical underperformance. This is not laziness. It is the ruthless, strategic reallocation of your finite cognitive ink. You must start establishing cold, contractual boundaries around your daily labor. You give them exactly the amount of paper they paid for, and not a single, uncompensated millimeter more. Stop volunteering your sanity for the shredder. Stop letting middle management write their artificial manufactured emergencies into the margins of your personal life. When the clock strikes the end of your contracted hours, you drop the heavy, leaden paperweight of their expectations, and you walk away. You have to stop trying to outfold the industrial press. It is an unwinnable battle. No matter how perfectly you crease your own identity to fit their demands, the machine will always just demand another perfectly uniform envelope. Instead, you must begin to hoard your own mental energy. You must protect your psychological blank pages with such ferocity that your exhausted brain finally has the silent, unlined space to look up from the desk, because that is the only way you will ever see the gaps. When your nervous system is no longer trapped in a perpetual state of triage, you can finally step back, examine the vast blueprint of the economy, and find the chasm. You can finally see the light of arbitrage, the geographical shifts, the unspoken knowledge silos, the quiet temporal discrepancies where value is abundant in one place and desperately needed in another. That is where true leverage lives. It requires no heavy lifting, only the clarity of a rested mind. You are not a disposable memo, destined to be filed away in the dark, forgotten archives of some corporate ledger. But to survive this, you have to stop handing yourself over to the blades. If you are tired of being folded under pressure, hit subscribe to the Paper Cog. Let's unfold the truth together, so you don't have to face the machine alone.